Hello everyone, welcome to episode 64 of Level Up, 60 minutes of live Q&A where your questions and votes drive the show. Level Up comes to you live on Mondays at 8 AM UK time and on Friday at 2 PM UK time, streamed directly to YouTube and LinkedIn. You can find out more about what we do by visiting apmginternational.com and searching for Level Up. So today's topic is how to become a professional facilitator. If you'd like to join in today's session, please use the Slido link in the chat to vote up the questions that you want answered, and of course to add in your own questions throughout the show. Alternatively, the APMG team are active in the chat on both YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you have any questions or comments for the panel, please post it there and they'll pick it up. Throughout today's show, we will be bringing the live comments on screen. So feel free to say hello and let us know where you're joining from. We'd love to hear from you and involve you in the show. Okay, so we've scoured the far corners of the world today to bring you a truly international panel who are ready to share their knowledge and experience with you. So let's jump straight in and meet them. Firstly, a veteran of the Level Up panel and joining us from Algeria, we have Farah Heba. Farah is a product owner with strong skills in digital project and product management, communication and team empowerment in complex, fast-paced and multicultural environments. Farah is also a trainer in project management, both waterfall and agile, as well as IT governance and design thinking delivered in France and Switzerland. Welcome, Farah.
Thanks, Ellie. As always, I'm delighted to be with you today. Thanks for inviting me again, and I'm really looking forward to answering the questions that seem really great.
Lovely, thanks for joining us. So joining Farah, we have Marion Bell, dialing in from Sydney, Australia. Marion's current role involves consultancy programs and projects for BlueVisions and the Institute of Management. Many of Marion's projects include upskilling clients through training and certifications, including agile project management, change management, and Marion's new favourite topic, Praxis Framework. Hi, Marion.
Hi, Ellie. Hello, everybody. Great to be back again and looking forward to answering some good questions.
Thanks, Marion. So moving from Australia to Austria, I'd like to introduce Dieter Strasser. Creating structures for people and organizations is Dieter's passion, and he has devoted his attention to this area as an accredited trainer, coach, and facilitator. Also, as a knight against dogmas, he's always works on variable concepts. Dieter's recommendation is lean and relaxed for everyday life, and we love that. Welcome, Dieter.
Good morning, Ellie. Good morning, everybody. I'm thank you very much for the nice welcome.
Thank you. So finally, completing the panel for today and making his debut with Level Up from the Netherlands is Thijs Loggen. Thijs has a background in psychology and neuro-linguistic programming. He uses many different facilitative techniques to adapt on the spot to what is happening in training courses or workshops to maximize the learning effect for participants. This makes his training experiences very pragmatic and experiential. Welcome to the panel, Thijs.
Thank you for having me on as a first-timer, and I'm really looking forward to see some juicy, difficult questions appear and see if we can have some nice discussions among the panelists.
Okay, thank you. So before we get started, I'd like to say a big thank you to all the panelists for joining us today. We wouldn't be able to run these shows without you. So if you're watching today's show and feel like you would like to have a go answering questions on your specialist subject, you can volunteer in the chat and we'll be in touch to welcome you to a future panel. Our question masters for today is Charlotte Miller. Hi, Charlotte.
Good morning. Hello. Afternoon, everybody.
Hi. So can we have our first question for the panel, please?
You certainly can, Ellie. We've got a question from Martha. As a team manager, how can facilitation skills help me manage people?
Okay, we'll have Marion, Dieter, and then Farah on that one, please.
Okay, so as a manager, you need to be able to facilitate meetings with your staff, perhaps planning meetings if you're doing project management. So having facilitation skills as a team manager is almost a fundamental sort of requirement in your toolbox in terms of managing your team.
Yeah, thanks, Marion. That's really helpful. Dieter, your thoughts on this one, please.
One of my customers really thought that he can substitute leadership techniques with facilitation skills. And I think facilitation isn't a leadership skill, but you can involve your employees. You can bring in the wisdom of your employees. You can help your company with the engagement of your employees and help to develop different issues and problems and questions. And that's the core function of facilitation.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Farah, your thoughts on this one, please?
Yeah. For me, facilitation is all about guiding group, I would say, and empowering them to voice their opinions, to resolve issues, or let's say to work better as a team. And for me, it sounds a lot like management, right? So learning to be a facilitator would for me help to develop like self-awareness and neutrality toward the group, and also and foremost develop trust in the group and welcome opinions and feedback. So we'll learn maybe to be more empathic and even run more effective meetings. So yes, facilitation skills would help you to manage people throughout your, let's say, a team manager role.
Yeah, for sure. It's about bringing out the best in people, I guess. Thijs, did you have something you wanted to add to this one?
Yes, I think Farah gave a really nice answer, a good answer, where you see that facilitation skills help you to allow your team to perform better, right? But it's a very different skill than typical normal management. And that's also why you see in the Agile world where the Scrum Master is really facilitated to the team, and it's about helping the team get their goals. And it's a different style than leading a team, which traditionally is more like you have to be the front runner. But now it's actually, how can I help you do your best work? So it will help you tremendously as a team manager as well to let your team shine and be more productive and also motivated.
Yeah, thanks, panel. Great answers for our first question. Charlotte, please, may we have a second question, please?
You can, Ellie. We've got a question from Lucy. Lucy asks, what qualities make a good facilitator?
Okay, great question. And all the panel wanting to go. So we'll have Thijs, Farah, Dieter, and then Marion, please.
Yeah, so there's a lot of qualities you can use from different skill sets that you probably already learned that you can bring into the facilitation. But I think what's key is really like having eye for people and group dynamics, seeing what's the energy, what's happening, and being able to improvise and play with that in the moment, because things will always go differently than you planned on beforehand. So being adaptive is really, I think, one of the key qualities for a facilitator.
Yeah, and we might see some of that today, I guess. Okay, Farah, your thoughts on this one, please.
Yeah. On my side, I will focus on three main, I would say, qualities. First one is empathy. As Thijs had just said, it's for me really important to be sensitive to the different cultures and backgrounds in the group so that you can create the dynamics and go on with it. The second one is to be able to, let's say, separate yourself intellectually and emotionally from the topic that you are managing. And the third one would be to be a kind of, I would call it a forensic questioners, because it's part also of your job as a facilitator.
Yeah, some great advice there. Thank you. Dieter, your view, please.
Yes, I think it's very important to focus on the process, to focus on the context, to help the different peoples to enter the stage and to stay behind and to prepare all the room and the space for them to develop the different issues.
Yeah, some wonderful qualities there. Marion, your thoughts on this one, please?
I would agree with Farah in terms of the neutrality and letting the people sort of guide the conversation. I think there you get a greater truth of what the group actually thinks and feels if you as the facilitator are neutral and just sort of coax the conversation along based on what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an important factor, isn't it? Not necessarily giving an opinion either way, but being able to draw out the opinions of others and help them to express them. That's really great. Thanks, panel. Charlotte, please, can we have our next question? You
can, Ellie. We've got a question from Eric. How to be a good facilitator for virtual teams?
How many times has this question come up over the last 2 years? So we'll go Dieter, Farah, Marion, and Thijs, please.
I think we should distinct on which type of facilitation we really speak about. If we are speaking about solution finding in complicated and complex areas, or speaking we about on virtual modes or anything else as a support for desk operations, as a guide for something else. And in this case, it's a different thinking good in place. A good facilitator for virtual teams should be skilled and help to be that the people should be engaged, and there is some interactive sessions around, and the people can help to keep their focus always during the whole session.
Yeah, for sure. We've all had to learn a bit of that, haven't we? How to keep people engaged during online sessions. Farah, your view, please.
Yeah. So I would say that facilitation for virtual teams means also adjusting what you know about facilitating team meetings and make a few changes in how you structure and facilitate those meetings or trainings or whatsoever. So if I go more practical, I would say first, rethink the way you engage and you communicate with teams, like by using online applications to keep people in touch or whatsoever. Second, review your timeline, because less is more. Shorter is almost always better when it comes to virtual. And third, I would say continue to set boundaries to create an environment of trust and psychological safety.
Yeah, some brilliant advice there. Thanks, Farah. Marion, your thoughts, please.
Okay, so when I'm facilitating online and people all over the country, a couple of things I do. I make sure everyone tries to keep their camera on as much as possible. I also like to throw out what I call round robins, where I will just sort of throw a question out to the group and go according to the participant list in sort of order. That also gives me an opportunity to see who's actually involved and engaged as well. And it also sort of keeps everybody else engaged because they're never sure when I'm going to do that. And then I also like to sort of mix it up with a couple of questions and get everybody on chat and just do a quick quiz or something like that. But just keep people, mix it up and keep people engaged.
Yeah, it's great advice. And some of the technology that we use has come on leaps and bounds in the last 2 years with regards to tools for interaction, hasn't it? So that's really helpful. So Thijs, finish us off on this one, please.
Yeah, I might share a slightly unpopular opinion. That is that in a sense, if you really look at the principles of facilitation, that virtual is really not different than live. If you really go to the core principles of, again, the things mentioned before, the empathy, the structure, the creating psychological safety. But I think the challenge, how you do that, is very different, and that's where the different skills come in. But one thing I really think is key is to make things also as much as possible visual. So use supporting whiteboards like Miro or Mural to have creating a setting where everybody can engage at the same time instead of just doing the old thing where you just go, everybody speaks and have an open discussion, which is really not that productive, but also lets out a lot of other people who are not so tendency to speak that much. So I think really go back to the core principles. What do you want to achieve, and see how do you want to create that for a virtual environment. And I think one thing that is really different is there usually some more preparation needed to make that happen well, like with supporting tools, like you said, that make leaps of jumps that can help us now to make better experiences for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like you have to be, make that extra effort to be more interactive, because as you say, if people are not in front of you, they might have other distractions that you can't see. So preparing in advance with quizzes and polls and all of that kind of thing is really helpful. Thanks, panel. Charlotte, can we have our next question, please?
You can, Ellie. We've got a tricky question from Jasmine. What shouldn't a facilitator do? What are the don'ts?
Not a tricky question at all for today's panel. So we'll go Marion, Farah, Thijs, and then Dieter, please.
All right, I'll throw in the first one. Don't take sides. Just kind of remain neutral and just let the conversation flow.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. And Farah, your view, please.
Yeah, I would add a second. I would say do not impose your opinions. The intent is to nudge learners in the right direction rather than to tell them what outcomes they need to arrive at. And a facilitator is not the seat of wisdom and knowledge. So be aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Know what your purpose is. Thijs, your view, please.
Yeah, one thing that has really helped me is a quote that really ties into what's just been said as well, and it's don't be the hero, be the guide. So it's easy, you're the lead person for that workshop, so it's easy, to be there and be in control and make all this kind of cool stuff happen and make remarks and lead the process too much. But you want to be indeed neutral. You're a catalysator, so you want to be the guide. You want to help people make their next step as a neutral process. Of course, you can have input here and there, but your success is their success and not the other way around. So if you have that in the back of your mind, then a lot of the other things will work out okay in the end.
That's an excellent way to think about it. Thank you. So Dieter, your thoughts on this one, please?
Yes, only one amendment to the clever answers of my colleagues. I think a good facilitator should never miss the exploration of the disadvantages of a solution.
Yeah, that's excellent advice, isn't it? Not only what's good, but what might be bad. So pulling out that information from people you're working with. Great. Thanks very much, everyone. Charlotte, next question, please.
We've got a question from Carl Letner. Can I act as a project manager and a facilitator at the same time?
Okay, project manager and a facilitator at the same time. Okay, we'll go Marion, Farah, Thijs, and then Dieter on this one, please.
I think a very big part of a project manager's role is being a facilitator, especially in the planning process of the project. So we're looking at who are our stakeholders. We're looking at what is the scope. We're looking at, sort of risks. And we need to have all these brainstorming sessions. So it's very important for a project manager to be able to facilitate those sessions and to have a sort of couple of techniques sort of up their sleeve in terms of how to get people involved and how to get the right information so that we can plan the project properly. So absolutely, it's all skill for a project manager.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Farah.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Marion has just said. One of the responsibilities of the project manager is also to ease the work between their team members and to empower them to work better as a team. So as a project manager, I would suggest you to develop as much as possible your facilitation skills to optimize the results of your team. But just keep in mind that acting as a facilitator in some tricky situations might be complicated, as you cannot really be neutral on the project's topics. Sometimes you need to participate, sometimes you need to voice your opinions or make decisions. You'll not really be a facilitator then. So just keep that in mind while balancing your work as a project manager and a facilitator.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Thijs?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely needed. You see that the project manager role is continuously evolving, right? And what kind of skills are more needed in this fast-paced society, and also the complex projects where we need to engage groups to make sure that we can use their skills and wisdom, etc., to make next steps. That's facilitator skills definitely needed. I think the only thing is be aware. Sometimes when role are you clearly occupying in that moment? So sometimes there is some discrepancy between the two roles. As said before, facilitator is neutral. So as project manager, you sometimes have things you really want to get done. So when you lead a workshop, take your project manager hat off for a moment and be there fully neutral. And after the workshop, you can take your project manager hat on again. And as long as you make it clear for yourself and others, then you should be fine.
Brilliant, thank you. And Dieter, finish us off on this one, please.
Yes, I only want to amend something and taking up Farah's answer. I think unless a person is working in the simple area of the Kinevin framework, it's easy to occupy both roles. But as more complex the issue will be, a project manager should be separated from a facilitator, and both persons have a completely another agenda. It's better to separate them.
Yeah, and that's great advice. Thank you. So facilitation is a key skills of the project manager, but not maybe the whole role that they're occupying.
At the same time.
Great. Okay, thank you. Yeah, marvelous. Thanks very much, panel. Charlotte, next question, please.
Question from Lucy. What training do I need to become a facilitator?
Okay, thank you. What training do I need? Thijs, we'll come to you for this one, please. And then Farah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of trainings around, and it's becoming more popular and popular. So you'll see the internet's now starting to like spawn up with all kind of facilitation things. I think really the cheeky answer, of course, is no training substitutes experience. So your best training is actually doing this as much as you can, and also in small ways. Like you could do a 1 hour meeting, say, hey, what's the goal of this meeting? Can I help you get more out of this? So then you actually start to facilitate these kind of meetings as well. And then that will help you grow your experience, and that will help you the most of everything. But if you do like look for good trainings, APMG has some good trainings on facilitation. But also, I'm very biased. There's this workshopper community, which is really great. They offer a lot of free information that you can use. They also have some training. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out as well.
Yeah, thanks, Thijs. We can maybe pop the link to that in the chat at the end of the show. And Farah, your views, please.
Yeah, totally agree with what Thijs has just said. In fact, there are a lot of training that exists that are meant to teach you how to become a facilitator or what tips to use or whatsoever. But keep in mind that you won't walk out of a facilitation training course as an expert. So you'll need to practice and plenty of it that will help you become comfortable with the constant decision making that you might need to have, the skills of observation, listening, or whatsoever. So understanding this would be a first step for you to gain into a facilitator job and position. Then, as Thijs has just said, there are a lot of, let's say, well-known trainings that you can enroll to that might help you to gain, let's say, the basics of the role and to ensure that you have the right tools and techniques in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. The training courses that are out there can give you a good basis to get started, but it's all really about practical application and experience in the long run. Okay, thank you. Charlotte, please, may we have our next question?
You can. We've got another question from Lucy. They ask, what common challenges does a facilitator face?
Great, common challenges, wonderful. Okay, Marion, Thijs, Farah, and Dieter, please.
All right, I think probably the most common one is lack of participation from people. So you would need to know how to manage that in a facilitation situation.
Yeah, that's a great one. Short and straight to the point. Thanks, Marion. Thijs, your view, please.
Yeah, I guess one of mine is that everything goes different than you planned. So you have to plan, you have to prepare your workshop. That's all really important, but don't stick to it, just like no matter what, because things will go different. And I think that's also where your most value lies, is where you can adapt the situation, seeing, hey, there's something else needed here actually, and help the group uncover that and help to make their next step. And then the group will be so thankful for you because they felt like you just haven't been pushing them through this process, but you actually showed them that something's going on and helped them see that, create transparency, and allowed them to do something with it. So that's one of the biggest challenges I face every time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think adaptability came up as one of the key skills earlier from an earlier question, for sure. So Farah, your thoughts on this one, please?
I would add a third one then. For me, it's managing participants' levels. So over participators or experts that can, for example, drown down the valuable perspectives of introverted individuals or those who take longer to process information. So it might be really helpful and interesting for a facilitator to try to figure out what to do in such cases, to have like a checklist of things to verify within the team, to create the dynamic and to ensure that no one is taking too much the cover.
Yeah, for sure. We always have those meetings where we have the noisy people that take up a lot of the room, and it's a facilitator's role to make sure that everybody gets heard, for sure. So Dieter, finish us off on this one, please.
Yes, some disappointment of delegates on past experiences, maybe hidden agendas, mixed agendas, or not suitable spaces for facilitation sessions and so on.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much for that panel. Charlotte, our next question, please.
Ellie, we've got a live question from Sudurdeen. As a facilitator, you have the right to change the team members you notice that has not been productive, or do you report it to the project manager?
Okay. Right, panel. Do you have the right to change the team managers? Thijs and Farah on this one, please.
Well, I asked for some juicy, difficult questions, so be careful what you wish for. So it really depends. Like there's a lot of context factors, but I think the principle should be that the principal answer would be no, not that you can't, but that's not often what the problem really is. So you have to discover what is happening, why are things not being productive, and often there are underlying issues. In my experience, 99% of the cases, people do want to be productive. They do want to add value. They do want to contribute, but there's just something going wrong, either in team dynamics or the project or something else. And I think that's one of the main things as a facilitator is helping, again, create transparency, figure out what's going on, and help them make choices that they can, but are just not able to yet because they're stuck in it, right? So here's also where we sometimes borderline coaching skills as well, but don't change the team. Figure out what you can do to unlock people's ability to really deliver.
Yeah, great answer. Thank you. Farah, your views, please.
Yeah, I would make the parallel with change management. When there is someone that resists the change, the thing is not that you're going to change them from the team. The first thing that you will do is try to figure out what's the root cause. Why aren't they involved? Is it like a lack of information? Do they feel different from the team? Is there something that is missing into the link that you want to create on the topic? So what I would suggest, and for me, the must to be done is to figure out the root cause rather than to try to change the person or to remove the person from the group right away.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. Thank you. Marion, your views, please.
I think as a facilitator, you need to have a sort of couple of tools and techniques that you can use to sort of deal with these situations. I absolutely agree with Farah. Sitting down and finding the root cause, perhaps having one-on-one discussions with the people who are not participating and seeing if you get any answers there. Other things that I've done is I've broken a bigger group up into sort of smaller groups, and sometimes just being in a smaller environment, some people are more likely to sort of give their opinions. Other techniques that I've used, and I actually learned this from the change management course that APMG did, was a sort of rapid listing. So instead of starting off with a brainstorm and having everybody talking, give everybody Post-it notes and let them write all their ideas down and then group them with other people. And that way, the people who perhaps don't talk as much have already had a chance to have some sort of input, and that boosts their self-confidence a little bit. And then they start to participate in the discussion as well. But would I report it to the project manager? Not until I've absolutely done my homework, and as a facilitator, made sure that I've tried to involve the people in as many different ways as possible.
Lovely. Thanks, panel. So I hope that was helpful, Surajatine. If you are watching us live and you have a burning question you want answered, please pop it in the chat and one of my colleagues will pass it on to the panel. So Charlotte, next question, please.
Thanks, Ellie. We've got a question from Jasmine. What hard skills, soft skills do I need to master to become a professional facilitator?
Okay, hard skills and soft skills. We'll have Marion and Dieter on this one, please.
All right. I think the first skill that's really important is the ability to be able to talk in front of people, not feel intimidated talking in front of people, and just very relaxed and comfortable being in front of people. And if you find that difficult to talk in front of people, look at joining groups like Toastmasters, or just sort of make our own contributions in your own team meetings until you build your self-confidence.
Thank you, Marion. Dieter, your thoughts?
Yes, as a facilitator, you are always the master of the process. Never be hesitant, never let the session slip away, and always have to switch immediately if there is another need, if you see that people lost their attention and the people need another techniques or methods to be engaged.
Thanks, Steve. That's great. And it's great to see some of the live comments on the screen. We can see that the audience is joining us from all over the world. So if you are watching us live, do pop it in the chat, let us know where you are and say hello and give us any thoughts for the panel. Charlotte, can we have our next question, please?
We have a question from Ash K. How does the technical knowledge complement with the soft skills to become a good facilitator?
Okay, technical knowledge, great, thank you. So we'll have Thijs, Marion, and Dieter on this one, please.
Yeah, I'm just assuming the technical here is just like IT related stuff, right? You can also think about other kind of techs, but and definitely then more related to the online sphere. So it will definitely help you. I mean, being a facilitator is for the huge part, I think, is really people skills and process skills. But in online settings, having some tech skills just it's like you just don't want things to go wrong because that takes the energy away. It doesn't have to be fantastic. It doesn't have to be superb. Just basic stuff that goes right. Having some whiteboards where people can collaborate and doing some breakouts really helps a lot to make the process go smoother. But you don't have to be a tech expert at all. But it does complement in virtual settings. So make sure you have your basic stuff met, and then you should be fine.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Thijs. Marion, your thoughts?
I'm going to take this slightly differently. I'm going to sort of look at this as having technical knowledge around the discussion that we're having with people. So, for example, if we're doing a risk workshop, understanding about risks and being able to actually assist people to understand what we want to get out of the session, I think is really important as well.
Great. Thank you, Marion. Dieter, your thoughts?
Oh yes, I think the best thing is always to be with the humans, and the most part of a facilitation session is to ensure understanding, and to ensure understanding. But it's very, very important to be skilled in some parts of methodologies, and this makes you calmly and able to adapt and switch around what the people really need, and you have more energy to listen and to be empathic in the discussion and relation with the delegates.
Yeah, I suppose if you don't have a basic understanding of the technical detail, you might not be able to pull out what's important and ask the next question to facilitate the conversation. Farah, did you want to add something to this one, please?
Yeah. In fact, I kind of agree and not with what the other panelists have said. For me, in some cases, it's not uncommon for a professional facilitator in a business setting to lack a deep understanding of the subject, because sometimes there is a need for external facilitators that are also that they have, let's say, that are open-minded, that have new perspectives that they can provide to the team. So in some cases, yes, there is a need to have people that are really skilled, that have knowledge of the industry, of the sectors, that knows the business and really the topic, that know the internal language, which can save time and get involvement. But on the other hand, sometimes to have this open-mindedness and to have these new perspectives can add also a value to the meeting, to the topic that you are facilitating.
Yeah, so I guess it's a balance of being able to understand the conversation and follow it, but not have too many opinions to be able to steer it. Okay, great, thank you. Charlotte, please can we have our next question?
You can, Ellie. We've got another live question from Dijon. Can you comment on the best way to get stakeholders involved on Teams? What tools do you call upon?
Okay, thanks, Dijon. We'll go to Thijs first and then Marion, please.
Not sure if this is really a facilitated question. It's more a change management question. If you think about how to involve stakeholders in general, but I'm just going to take it slightly different and saying, how can I involve stakeholders into workshops? How can I draw them into workshops? Because that's a different, unique challenge in itself. So I think what happens often with stakeholders is difficult to get them in alignment and agreement, right? So workshops really help well to have them in one session and to say, okay, we're gonna, break our heads on this one thing and make a choice. And there are a lot of good strategies because it will help them as well if they can come together and have this really nice process facilitated, that they feel, okay, now we understand each other better. Now I feel heard. I understand their perspective better, and we can come to this level of agreement and can make choices and move forward, because they also sometimes feel stuck, like things are not moving forward. So we need to show them, we need to have them in. It's very important. We probably need to do that in small ways first. So do a mini workshop where you have a few of them together and show some facilitation processes that you say, show them you can make choices more easily in this kind of way instead of just emailing back and forth and whatever. And from there on, I would build it out and have them more actively actively participating in bigger workshops where they're key players, so we can, accelerate our projects. So start small, let them show the benefits of facilitation and increase that along the way.
Yeah, thanks, Thijs. That's a great answer. Marion, what would you like to add on this one, please?
I'm actually going to look at more the second part of the question in terms of what tools do you call upon. It depends on the type of facilitation session. I've used Miro a couple of times, and they actually have sort of boards that you can use where people bring in what would you call it, sort of online post-it notes and can add sort of information to a group discussion. Another sort of tool I've used is polling. So if I'm looking to get sort of the feel of the group in terms of which direction they'd like to go, polls are great to set those up. And sometimes you can set those up beforehand or you can do them on the fly. It just depends on how the facilitation session is going.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we mentioned earlier that some of these, some of the programs like Teams and Zoom have come a long way in the last couple of years. So it's really worth maybe spending some time seeing what other features are in them that you may not have known about before, that can help with the facilitation. Farah, did you want to add something to this one, please?
Just to add something in regards to the tools that might be used and that change the routine, I would say on facilitation environments. I usually use like storyboards, digital prototypes or whatsoever, just to change the way we show things, to change the way we interact with people. Sometimes stickers, miro board, whatsoever, it's really great to get the ideas and to make the people interact. And sometimes going way, let's say, how to say it, better when it comes to visualization, it might be interesting also for the teams.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great answer for that one. I hope that helped, Dijon. Charlotte, can we have the next question, please?
You can, Ellie. We've got a question which is not changing for some reason. From Chloe. What are some of the practical strategies you use to facilitate meetings successfully?
Okay, practical strategies for facilitating meetings. Thanks very much. Okay, so we'll have Thijs and then Farah, please.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give a few, basically have a good start. Always make sure you have a clear goal of the session and communicate it at the start of the session, that everybody knows why are we here, what's the end goal, am I even needed to be in the session, because sometimes people end up there, they don't know why they're there. This is the goal, which also allows you, if other discussions come up, which they will, we say that's a very good discussion, but that's not fitting with our goal at this moment. So we'll use a parking lot, we'll write it on the post-it, we'll put it on the parking lot, and we sidestep it for now. If we have time at the end, we can go into it further, right? So that's an important one. Then show something of an agenda. I usually do it very high over because I need to adapt still in the moment. So I don't give like 5 minutes this, 10 minutes that. Just like these are the things we're going to do, but I don't give time frames with them. But do ensure you tell them maybe we'll have a break after an hour, or it's going to be for so long, these kind of things. Then you want to set expectations, like how is this experience going to be? How are we going to work? Maybe it will be very interactive, or actually we're going to do a lot of silent writing and drawing ourselves and then bring that to the group. So set their expectations and how it will work, so that will ease them as well. Then get their expectations. So do they still have questions, unclarities? What do they expect from this session? These kind of things. And then when you all have that, then you have a good solid start of your session, which will make your success of the workshop increase tons. Of course, at the end, it's often useful to do like a mini retro, something like, how was this? What was good about it? Or what did you miss? It'll either be on the process or the content. But then you have a good beginning and endings, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I've definitely been in sessions before where you do the first part of the morning, you go off for a break, and when you come back, the facilitator has completely changed what's happening in the next session because they're adapting to how you responded to session one. So it's great advice. And Farah, your thoughts, please.
When we speak about facilitation, we're speaking about humans. So for me, for example, prior to or during the first minutes of the session, you can start with an icebreaker. You can start with a check-in or make introductions that people can get along together. You can define ground rules and get, let's say, the buy-in from the power players, I would call them. You can also, as let's say, difficult things, avoid to talk to blackboards or walls because you have people in front of you. So focus on the people, focus on their body language, on how they feel within the team, within the dynamics that you are setting. And when it comes to the after session moment, keep in mind that people like reminders, so you can send minutes of the meeting, you can follow up on the actions. It will make sure that people are still getting involved into the topics that you have managed, and that the moment that you have facilitated is not, let's say, a one-shot moment. That you have a follow-up that will come through.
Thank you, Farah. That's great. Dieter, did you have something you wanted to add to this? I thought I saw the ruler go up halfway through that answer.
Yes, indeed. I really love the dual SPO because there is a time enough, or there's a possibility that the facilitator have some time to sort his ideas before he go ahead, and it's always an option to get an agreement on the process. And if you get an agreement on the process, usually you get an agreement on the results of the process. And that's a secret of facilitation. And for me, it's one of the really, really important things.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Charlotte, do we have another question, please?
We do, Ellie. We've got a question from Judith. What further trainings are recommended after foundation training to increase and broaden your facilitation skills?
Okay, guys, another training question. Well, we'll have Thijs on this one, then Marion, please.
Yeah, so we touched upon this slightly as well, but that gives some extra recommendations. So there's a lot of good facilitation trainings, but there are a lot of supplementary trainings like broad-wise that can help you as well. Like change management came forward. If you have more change management knowledge, it will help you to know more how people think and work, which can help you in the sessions to know, oh yeah, where's this person coming from and how to respond to that. So things in the line of psychology, coaching, all these kind of things could also help, where you can ask also questions in the group. So when things come up, you ask coaching questions like, hey, this is interesting, where's this coming from, or what's your concern? So this also helps to do probing and, you know, create safety in the group again. So I would say a lot of around people skills is definitely a great add-on next to facilitation skills. The other route would be to go more specific into certain facilitation routes. So there's this thing called design sprints, which is a really great workshop that's 5 days where you really tackle big challenges. You might also want to say, I want to get good at that. So I do a design sprint training specifically to get good at that method. So depending on when you want to go, but I think both are great and will help you a long way along your journey as a level up facilitator.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Thijs. That's great. Marion, your views, please.
I would agree absolutely with what Thijs has said. And then Farah said something a little bit earlier about your actual presentation skills. So not talking to the blackboard, talking to the audience, engaging the audience. And a lot of that you'll get in sort of a 2-day presentation type course, or you might want to do a train the trainer type course where you actually learn how to become a trainer, which is different to being a facilitator, but will give you a lot of those sort of presentation type skills and how to actually turn up for the session and be prepared and to make a good impression and get everybody's sort of confidence up in your ability to be able to manage that session.
Okay, thanks very much, Marion. I think, Farah, you'd like to add something to this one, and then Dieter afterwards, please.
Yeah, an extra one, which is conflict management. Sometimes facilitators face conflicts within the team, so it might be really interesting for them to know how to deal with it, to know how to, let's say, let down the pressure and make sure that the team is not impacted by what's happening between two people or between one member of the group and the rest of the group. So I think, and according to my experience, conflict management skills might be really interesting for facilitators.
Yeah, that's a great one to add. Thank you. Dieter, your thoughts, please.
Yes, I have 3 to add it. At first, I think all around symbols, the force of symbols like liberating structures. The second one, going deeper with questions like clean language or similar. And if Thijs is talking about change management, don't miss out organizational behavior management, to learn about VIGAs, to make processes clear, to make it simpler to follow instructions.
Yeah, great. That's really, yeah, thank you for that. That's great. Charlotte, another question for the panel, please.
Thanks, Ellie. We've got a question from Michael. What actions should facilitators take prior, planning and following the workshop/training application to ensure the outcomes are achieved?
Marion, you were straight on that one, so we'll have you and then Thijs, please.
For me, what's very important is to perhaps even speak to the client first, or the organisers of the session, to make sure that I fully understand the context of why we're having this session. What are the objectives that they're hoping to achieve, and perhaps any underlying background information that I'm not likely to get from the group. So sort of do my homework and really understand what this is about first off. And then at the end of the workshop, if I've been asked to facilitate for a client, what I would normally do is a complete report, perhaps have somebody with me in the room taking minutes and give them a complete report of what the discussion was, what the outcomes were, and perhaps next action items.
Yeah, thanks, Marion. That's really helpful. Thijs, your views, please.
Yeah, I think what Marion said is really key. So you want to get, what's the objective? What do you want to achieve? What's the end goal? Is there is it a team agreement? Is it a deliverable or a certain output that you want to get? Or be really, really clear what's the output at the end of the meeting that you want to have. And there will probably be some differences depending on, like, if there are a couple stakeholders, they might have slightly different ideas with them. So often what works well is to interview them individually on forehand. Could be just 15 minutes, right? What are your expectations? What is needed to get, etc. And then you'll find out where's the discrepancies, because if they are, they probably will come up in the workshop as well. So you can think of forehand, how can I deal with this, or how can I set it up well that we're going to get an agreement in the workshop about this. So preparation in that sense is really key. And secondly, what you often find is there's a goal for the workshop, but there's actually a hidden real goal underneath that. So an example is I had a team wanted to get some output. They want to show for new initiatives they could make. But the real goal behind it was that the CEO of the company was leaving, and they want to show something nice as a present for all his hard work, that he sees, hey, there will be some follow-up initiatives. So bearing that in mind, that will really help you to allow a greater success, knowing that it has to be presented in such a way to the CEO eventually that it will be his parting gift, right? So there's the obvious goal and there's the real goal. So make sure you do interviews and make sure you uncover these things before the workshop, because otherwise you'll have a lot of trouble fixing that in the workshop.
Yeah, for sure. Farah, do you want to add something on this one, please?
Yeah, when it comes to the pre-workshop or pre-facilitation training or whatsoever, I would say understand the culture of the team or of the company, so that you will know what kind of tools and techniques you would use, whether you can use humor or not, whether you need some formal exercises or not. This is for me really important, because from experience, I've seen that depending on the teams, depending on the organization, it might be interesting for you to use one tool rather than another, and to use a way of animating, a way of facilitating that might be different. So the style would be different according to the culture. So it's really important to get to know the culture prior to preparing anything or to figuring out any, let's say, agenda or techniques or exercises to be done.
Yeah, that sounds like great advice. And I think, like you say, having a plethora of tools, so once you've read the room almost, you can then apply what you feel is appropriate at the time. Right, Charlotte, can we have another question, please?
You can. Question from Jasmine. How to explain to C-level executives the added value of a facilitator in the teams?
Okay, that's a good one. Thanks. So we'll have Thijs first, and then Farah on this one, please, and Dieter.
Yeah, this is another great question, and it's a really tricky one, because we see that the value of facilitation is really recognized often by the people in the teams on those kind of levels, but not sometimes seen indeed in the higher ups in the C-level. So basically what I usually want to do is just, better to ask for forgiveness later than permission beforehand. That's a bit my style, but it's different for everyone. I would just start basically doing it without calling it maybe that name of facilitation or that name of workshops. Also, you can often help them experience the benefit of a workshop, but don't use, for example, the term workshop if you're going to know it's going to create some allergy or facilitation, right? Just say, hey, we're going to do a meeting. We're going to do it in a slightly different way, a bit more structured, with certain tools and techniques that we're bringing in sometimes. We make it very low threshold, and then when they experience it, think, hey, that was actually great. You might introduce, hey, this is more a workshop way of working with a facilitator. We want to bring that in the teams as well to help them accelerate and be more focused towards their objectives and their goals. So it's like the Trojan horse kind of way, right? That often helps. So explaining it is often very difficult. So let them experience it and build that upon is often more effective in the long run.
Yeah, thanks, Thijs. Great advice. So Farah, your views, please.
What I can add is that you can also involve them into the preparation so that they can feel more confident. They can feel more, let's say, aware of what's going to happen. Second advice for me is to use facts to be pragmatic. So like to describe situations in which teams were stuck, in which tensions appeared or decisions couldn't be made. Again, being to explain the facilitator's job boundaries and also how the company or team can benefit from it. But the primary advice for me would be to, let's say, invite them into the session and make them involved into the preparation so that they can feel in hand of the topic.
Yeah, thanks, Farah. That's great. So Dieter, if you can finish us off on this one, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yes, I'm appreciating so much 2 recommendations from Tony Mann. The first one is really don't explain. Don't explain. Listen what you hear, note what you hear immediately on post-its, giving some feedback, and ask if how much their understanding is. And immediately, usually, the manager will see that here is some higher understanding, and the facilitator understands his problems, his needs more, and is more suitable to apply facilitation for his questions, for his needs. And the second one is using the analogy of the lost key. As more as you are under pressure, or under time pressure or so, as more you should slow down the process. And it's better to have a shorter process, but with a higher quality result. Giving him
Yeah,
a
that's
life
great advice.
experience.
Yeah, thank you. So, show them rather than explain it seems to be the answer. Jasmine. Okay, so can we have our last question then, Charlotte, please?
You can, Ellie, and such a great question as our live question from Dijon. What are some fun and engaging icebreakers?
Great last question. Thank you. We'll have Thijs and then Dieter on this one, please, and then Marion.
Yeah, we probably have all our favorites. I used to have I have 3 that I can use everywhere, every time, and then I like to explore more now and then. But I usually take an icebreaker related to the workshop I'm going to do. So if I'm going to do a design thinking workshop, I'll usually use an icebreaker that's also all around drawing to just ease people up in there. And a really fun one is have everybody have a piece of paper, put their name on top, and then they walk around and they meet somebody and they have to draw the nose of the other person, and then you take your paper back, you walk around again, you exchange papers, and you draw their mouth, and then you get your paper back, and then you do that a few rounds, right? And then you get your face drawn by 5 different people together, and it's just really funny and laughter, and but also just easing up into everybody can draw. And we're going to do that also in the design thinking workshop. That's a nice way to use the icebreaker also to get the group going, but also wind into the topic and process.
Yeah, thanks, Thijs. That's some really great advice. Dieter, your icebreakers, please.
Yeah, 2 from me. Both are appropriate for virtual and presence mode. One is standing on a leg, and the second one is throwing a ball, and maybe both combined with a question or an annotation or a story about your experience, and passing it to a next delegate, and immediately you get a higher interactive engagement.
Yeah, thanks, Dieter. Some great options there. Marion, your icebreakers, please.
If I've got a bigger group and I like to put together a sort of questionnaire of things like, what are your favorite movie? Where's the best place for you to go on holiday? So it'll be sort of about 10, 15 questions along those lines. I make everybody stand up with their question paper and go and find at least one other person in the room who likes the same movie as them or who likes to go to the same place as them. And that's a great way to get people to know each other and to sort of almost build friendships, maybe even during the session.
Yeah, thanks, Marion. Farah, your icebreakers?
Yeah, a last one, which I really like, is the movie posters. So usually I ask participants to try to pick a movie poster that represents their mindset at that time. That it can create some funny moments, and it also gives us some insights as facilitator on the mindset that the group have and what they have in mind, whether they are, let's say, frustrated or they are in a good mood or a bad mood. So it's, let's say, a win-win situation. It's a good icebreaker for the people, and also it's an insight for us.
Yeah, for sure. I've also been part of some meetings where they use the icebreakers to gain a view on where somebody currently sits on the topic or something. So you do a spectrum line, put yourself on this line, whether you're pro or against what we're trying to do, you get a good sense of where the room sits, and you can use that to your advantage later on. Okay, so that was our last question for today. The hour has flown by. So I'd like to thank everyone for their excellent questions, and it's great to see the live questions coming in. I'm going to invite the panel now for their closing thoughts. So Dieter, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on today's session, please.
I really appreciate the exchange, the questions, and all the thoughts, and I feel enriched with new and additional ideas and approaches. Thank you very much for all.
Great, thank you. Marion, your views on today, please.
Some really great questions. I feel I've learned a lot today, and thanks very much for inviting me back.
Thanks, Marion. Welcome anytime. And Farah, your thoughts on today, please?
Well, thanks all for this great session. I would just conclude by saying that the most important thing to keep in mind in regards to becoming a professional facilitator is that you'll learn mainly by doing, and that you'll build your own facilitator toolbox and style along the way.
Thank you, Farah. And Thijs, finally, your thoughts on your first Level Up appearance, please.
Yes, it was a great experience, and thank you everyone for the live questions. It really enhanced the discussion. And as you see, I think facilitation is just growing. It's just at its child stages in a way, and just growing and growing and becoming more important as a 21st century skill. So it's really an investment in your own career to invest in your facilitation skills. It will help you a lot on your journey. And I think what's also shown is we have now 4 different panelists. We have 4 different views. There are different ways. There's no one way to be a facilitator. Find your own style. That's really important. Find your own way to maximize your value and how you do it, whether it's very people focused or process focused. Of course, it helps to do both, but everyone has a unique style, and that will help you to create really a lot of value for your team. So don't be fearful that you're different than what we say or do, right? Just find your own style and own that and grow that.
Yeah, thanks very much. And great job, everyone. We've had some brilliant answers to some tricky questions at times. So thank you so much for that. So it's been a great show today. If you've been inspired by our panel and you're getting value from our content, please do leave a comment below and help spread the word by liking and sharing the video. If you're eager for more, Level Up will be back with you on Friday at 2 p.m. UK time, where the panel will be answering your questions on what to look for in the best cybersecurity training. And then on Monday, 8 a.m. UK time, we will be exploring how to achieve an agile mindset. You can, of course, view all past Level Up sessions on our YouTube channel, so head over there and subscribe to the show. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, everybody. Take care. Bye.